3, 2, 1.
You ready?
You're listening to the Real Pineapple Podcast Network. Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. We are the Real Pineapple. This is Hunter, and we've got a special guest here. Got my co-host of Zebra Down joining us here, which will be launching back up in a couple weeks. Got OJ here. OJ, how are you, sir?
Fair, my friend, and yourself.
I'm feeling a lot of emotions right now. And in person, holy shit, we've got Colin. Colin, how are you, sir?
I'm doing good, man. It's so cool to be here, actually in Reno, hanging out with all you guys in person. It's been an incredible weekend.
It really has. And we've got a Scott. Scott, how are you, buddy?
So here, we're like together. I can see you.
I know.
And I can kind of reach over and touch you a little bit.
Aww.
Nice.
Ooh.
Nice.
So
You feel good.
and you hear my girlfriend Alea giggling in the background. So we're talking.
Sick brag, man.
Humble brag.
So I think humble brag. But so we're talking about. We got out of Avengers Infinity War, what, an hour ago, probably?
Yeah, maybe less than,
Yeah. So, I cannot stress this enough. This is all spoilers. Completely spoiler review. So, if you've somehow avoided Infinity War spoilers.
Which is fucking impossible.
Yeah, just don't go, just stay off social media.
Yeah.
That's the only way. Because one of my friends texted me last night. She's like, "Oh, did you hear about?" I'm like, "If you say never goddamn word," she's like, "Oh."
Because once you see this movie, you're gonna want to talk about
And,
it.
Yeah.
like, after seeing it, I understand how easy it is to spoil.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Like,
Yeah.
You can say one thing so obviously about any
Right.
a number of
Right.
characters, and it's spoiled.
And you'd be like, so if you have not seen Infinity War, for the love of God, please
First, just
wait.
see it.
Yeah.
First, you need to see it.
But also, don't be a troll. Don't be an asshole and ruin this for other people. Let other people enjoy this shit. So ask someone, have you seen Infinity War?
So let's gauge our level of like how much did we know about this before going in? Because
Infinity War?
Yeah, because
know everything.
I tried to stay off spoilers and things.
Yeah.
But even by trying, I still saw things.
I saw nothing going into this.
Didn't you say you saw a review, or you saw what maybe a grade was on it?
No, I saw a grade for 3 reviews, but I didn't see any plot points or anything.
Right, for sure.
Yeah, I legit was off Facebook pretty much all week, and I was like, nope, I'm taking no chances. It was, like, someone at work was like, on Tuesday, was like, "Oh, did you hear?" I'm like, "Shut the fuck up!" And I was like, totally in. So I
read the start of the actual comic, the graphic novel for Infinity Gauntlet.
Yeah.
And the start of that one is like Silver Surfer comes flying into Doctor Strange.
Yep.
But in this one they chose to go with Hulk or
Bannon, well, because they don't own Silver Surfer yet.
Yet. But that's all I knew going into it. From there I was like, I really didn't know.
100%, me too. I didn't. The only thing I knew was that like 1 or 2 people really liked it, and that was it. That was all I knew going in. But Hunter, you had an idea of the plot.
Oh yeah, so I mean, I've read the it's Infinity War, Infinity Gauntlet. What's the one I'm missing? Infinity.
Well, the big one's Infinity Gauntlet.
Yeah, but there's like 3. There's like more part of a trilogy, and I can never remember what the last one is. It's like Infinity. I can't remember what the other one is, but it's based on a comic run, and so reading the comics, I kind of knew some of the beats, but they did a good job of changing a lot from what they did in the comic. So where I went, oh, okay, I genuinely didn't really know how they were gonna kind of tackle this. So the movie starts off up in space, and so I remember I read an interview with Kevin Feige about 6 months ago, and he's saying, oh yeah, we're gonna prove that Thanos is the biggest, the baddest villain within like the first 10 minutes. So I was kind of like, all right, that's lip service bullshit. Yeah, Mr. Feige, I apologize, because you were totally they went out of their way to establish Thanos as a very terrifying villain from jump, which
Can I make a confession real quick?
Yeah, please.
I like that we're doing this recap right now because so much happened in this movie.
Yeah.
I actually don't really remember the
No.
start.
Yeah.
No.
So you talking about the start right now is like
We're gonna relive most of this movie.
and that's what this is for.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah.
And to be totally honest, guys, and I will just tell you, there will be stuff we miss because there's all like this movie is what 2.5 hours,
240.
but it is
That is insane.
but it's
That is
crammed
insane.
to the brim.
Yeah.
and
There's
shit.
a lot of stuff.
And I didn't even
Uh-huh.
feel
A lot of stuff happens.
I didn't feel the length phrasing at all on
You
this.
know what I kind of felt like when I left was I saw like 2 movies.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Like there's so
Yeah.
much content. There's so many like characters, and there's such like a and B storyline kind of going on at the same
Yep.
time.
Yeah.
A little bit. I was just like, I walked out and I was like, I think I saw 2 movies.
it felt like
It's so long.
the second act. It felt like was its own entity. Like
Yeah.
and its own emotional roller coaster.
Right.
Like the second act was insane.
But to get back to how you were describing the start.
Yeah. So basically, Thanos is there with the First Order, right? Or is it? Oh, that thing Star Wars on Black Order. Black Order. Pardon me. Yeah, Star Wars, Disney. Yeah.
So what's the Black Order? I don't know the Black Order.
So Black Order is basically all his underlings he had working for him.
Thanos.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And so
like the cool looking dude with like the weird nose.
yeah, like Ebony Maws, who you're thinking of there,
Yeah.
but.
He was. I thought he was a good villain.
I thought he was too.
He was a good
actually.
villain.
But what I found really interesting, I mean, to start, so if you saw that in the Thor Ragnarok, you saw that big ship in the mid credits, and I remember I looked over at Leia because we went and saw it together. And I went, that's not good. And she was like,
You
like,
said
what's
that's
that?
Thanos.
Yeah, and I was like, that's Thanos. And I was like, oh fuck. And so
Right.
the movie starts with him just slaughtering pretty much everyone on the ship. And
Who's everyone on the ship?
yeah, outside
You
of
see him floating out in space, right? When they're coming.
yeah.
Yep.
Like the dead bodies.
Yeah, and so you see the only person he leaves alive is Heimdall for like a second before he kills Heimdall. Like, cool, thank you. Like, but you just Elba, he should be Green Lantern. They'll use him better. But anyways, so
Not to digress.
Yeah, not to digress. Sorry, I'll go off on a couple tangents here. All right.
I like that you just Elvis point.
Yeah, but they should have used him better. I'm just saying. But anyways, like they kill him, which was like, oh shit.
And that's
okay.
early. That's pretty early.
Yeah, and then Loki he goes, where's the Tesseract? Like Thanos is saying, where's the Tesseract? And he's like, oh yeah, here it is. Like I pledge my allegiance, and he goes to stab him, and then oh hey, he uses the gauntlet, stops him, and then kills Loki. And
How many stones does he have at that point?
2?
But he has 2 on there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He starts with 2.
So he has 2.
He has a
and what
Tesseract and the power. Yeah.
And he needs 6 total.
Yeah,
Mhm.
to
Right.
complete the gauntlet.
So he has 2, and then he needs to get the next 4.
Yeah, and so when he kills Loki, I gotta admit, I mean, you kind of knew I was coming after I saw the first trailer. I'm like, oh, Loki's a goner. But it was still a powerful moment because, he's been so, like, since the beginning.
I
Like,
mean,
from phase
relatively
one.
fairly early on in this movie too.
Yeah.
Like that really.
Yeah, 10 minutes in, he's gone.
hits you like right away.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They're
and
like, this movie's not messing around.
yeah, and you have Ebony Maw, who has, like, Thor, who's used pieces of metal to cover Thor from screaming, but you still hear him, like, muffled screaming. I went, wow, okay, this is not fucking about. OJ, yeah, kind of your thoughts on the opening.
Oh, it was that's a hell of a way to start it.
Yeah.
I mean, what else can you really say about that? That's a tone setter. I mean, they promised that bodies were going to hit the floor, and it was a hell of a way to start that.
Solid drowning pool.
Yeah,
I appreciate that. But so I think it's actually cool that you mentioned tone, because my biggest concern was how they're going to balance all the different tones, like from Wakanda, from Guardians of the Galaxy, from Captain America, like how they're going to make it all work.
They're very different movies.
And I'm sitting there watching, like, God damn, the Russos get it, man. I don't know, like, working on Community for all those years must have just, like, given them, like, just a...
You think that's what it is?
Honestly, I think that working on a show like that,
Community like that?
I would
Yeah.
think that really helped them a lot, because
Right.
they're able to take all these characters who, I mean, you look at someone like, Donald Glover's character, and then
They
like
know how to write good dialogue.
they
like,
really
between
do,
characters.
but going between, because it is like almost like 2 or 3 separate movies in one movie, because you're going to space for the Guardian shit, and then you're
Right.
going to Wakanda, and then you're
Right.
going here, and it all works surprisingly well. Like,
They really kind of tie it all together pretty good.
I'm gonna say something that a lot of people will probably just be like, "What the fuck?" I think if Joss Whedon was doing this would have been a disaster. To be totally honest, I don't think he could have handled this
Right.
many tones.
I mean, this is a big time situation.
Yeah, and I can't even imagine the genuine stress the Russos have been under for the last couple years doing
Man.
this and the Fourth
How
Avengers.
happy are they
How do
having this?
you juggle this cast list? Like,
So, yeah, let's go down the cast
It's
list.
insane.
So
This is insane.
So who we got? We got Robert Downey Jr.,
Uh-huh.
Chris Evans, Scarlett Johansson, Sebastian Stan, Chiwetel Ejiofor, Chris Hemsworth,
Mark Ruffalo,
Chris Pratt,
Benedict Cumberbatch.
Scarlett Johansson,
yeah,
Tom Holland, Joey Saldana. Zoe
Yeah.
Saldana.
Samuel L. Jackson, spoiler.
Dave Bautista,
Elizabeth Olsen, who we've been talking about, has been killing it
who
lately.
has been doing a hell of a job recently
Yeah.
between Wind River and
Bradley Cooper's voice.
Bradley Cooper getting a very good check for voicing a fucking raccoon.
Vin Diesel's voice.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? He was a rabbit.
quick cameo by Idris Elba, basically.
Yeah,
His
seriously,
cameo.
yeah. Hey, I'm pretty sure got paid decently.
Peter Dinklage
Was a
right?
great
That would
cameo.
turn out to
That was
be
amazing.
that turned out to be
is a
great.
point of discussion.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
That was a fun one.
Yeah. So basically, so Heimdall, his last gasp, he basically sends Thor to Earth, which is really clever. Because I was, how are they gonna get Thor? Oh, that.
There's the Hulk, wasn't
He
it?
sends Hulk to Earth.
No, yeah, he sends Hulk to Earth. Yeah,
Right.
Heimdall sends Hulk to Earth, and
Yeah.
he crashes into the sanatorium of Doctor Strange
Uh-huh.
and tells him like Thanos is coming, and then he.
And that's what I was referencing from the comic or the graphic novel.
Yeah.
Where it all opens up, but it's Silver Surfer hitting.
Mm-hmm.
But I like that, like, when that happened, I was like, it's paying homage to the original
Yeah.
right now. It's, like, starting out in the same fashion.
Yeah.
I appreciated that.
And I gotta say, the movie starts off like so intense. It really doesn't let up the whole time. Like, I mean, there's not an action scene always on scene or on screen, but there's so many dramatic moments. I think that's what surprised me the most, is how dramatic this movie was. Like the first 25 minutes, maybe I'd say is more of a comedy, but that shit flips tones and it stays
Really
more
quickly.
dramatic
Yeah.
for like second act on. Like, would you guys like agree with that or?
I would.
I looked over a few, like the last half of this movie.
Yeah.
Hunter was like literally on the edge of his seat.
I was,
hand
yeah.
over his mouth, like
Yeah.
it was, and that's how the second half of this was like from like it, and it switched and it just kind of like went right into it.
Yeah. Yeah. Kind of your thoughts on the tone and how it kind of moved from act to act.
You know what it always felt like to me was is that you had the tone, like it has its own tone when Thanos is on screen the entire time, and it felt like that tone slowly overtook every single other tone in the movie.
Yeah.
Forward.
That's
Like it
fair.
was an
Wow, I like the
infection.
way you described that.
That was
Like
well
it was
done,
an
yeah.
infection. You know
I
what I
like
mean?
that.
Yeah.
That's the way it felt to me, and that's what I really liked.
You bring up the tone of Thanos, and let me just say, like,
Dude.
I was a big fan of like how overpowering and how like unbeatable they really portrayed Thanos
Yeah.
as,
Yeah.
and like that tone that you're talking about that slowly overtook the tones of the other parts of the movie because he was just collecting more stones and beating the next person. Like, I loved that like big build up of Thanos and how they did that with him, and I think the Russos. They just get how to do this kind of
They
like
really do.
epic storytelling. They're just good at it.
And the thing is, and I got into an argument with one of my coworkers. OJ knows exactly who I'm talking about. Where she was saying, "God, I can't believe they make us wait 10 years for Thanos." And I was like, "Well, the luxury that you have of 10 years of world building is that you can throw everyone into a movie and no one really questions it, and yet the way they get everyone involved in the fight made really logical sense. Like, surprisingly so, to be totally honest, because even I was like, that's a lot to juggle. I'm like, oh, they explain everything, and everything logically kind of made sense.
I mean, that's one of the things that you kind of worry about with these large
Yeah,
epics,
absolutely.
is you have so many characters, and how are you going to develop each single one and try to establish some sort of emotional connection with them?
Yeah.
As a viewer, it's nearly impossible because you have so many people. So you have to kind of group them together essentially and be like, oh, this is this storyline, and then like, you know, establish them in their role. But I feel like they were able to do that fairly flawlessly in this.
It was a tall order.
Yeah, it really was, because
hard to
you have
do.
so many strong roles in this and characters.
Everybody's got like a $100 million plus profit.
Yeah, you've got leaders in this. You've got ones that are maybe more followers.
Yeah.
You've got people that weren't even shown, like Hawkeye. I mean, like, what the hell?
We'll get to that.
Like,
So where
I don't want to get anybody triggered in this room, but
triggers.
I feel like Hawkeye is a trigger word.
So,
Where are we at in the plot? Huh?
Yeah.
So Hulk crashes down. Doctor Strange and Iron Man reach out to Steve Rogers, who I believe they said it had been 2 years since Civil War.
Sounds like that.
I think that's what they said. Yeah, I think they said it's been a couple years that they've been hiding. So, which I'm really happy, by the way, they actually brought up the Sokovia Accords, because I was kind of worried, like, are they just going to not acknowledge that? They're like, oh no, you signed that contract. I'm like, okay, cool. Like, that's still in play. Like, good job for not just, ditching that. So, that made me really happy. But, so yeah, Cap and Black Widow and Falcon have been on the run, and so they enter the fray. Of course, they're having to go ahead and keep Vision, Scarlet Witch, and Vision are on the run. They're like hiding out because he has Infinity Stone in his head, and Thanos is coming for that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just sitting here talking about the plot. God, bravo to the Russos.
There's so much going on
There's so much
here.
shit happening, and
Because there's 4 stones. Like, Thanos is like, I gotta get all 4 stones, and it takes 4 different tasks.
yeah, reality, soul,
Yeah.
time.
So you
and
can
which
bring-
one am I missing?
Was it not 3? I think 5 was the total.
Because there's 6 total.
Yeah,
Because
so
it was...
This is great radio.
Because there's,
So I think
there's the 4 here, 1 there, and 1 there.
yeah. Okay, I'll have to look up the little one.
So I think the way you could break down the plot, which is really cool, which maybe they did from the get-go, the Russo brothers, and tell me if you agree or disagree, but I think they broke the plot up into 4 separate parts.
Yes, we did.
Thanos getting this stone, Thanos getting this stone, Thanos getting this stone, and then Thanos getting this stone.
Yeah.
Do you think that's kind of what happens?
No, I think that's exactly what it was, and I think
Yeah.
what I found so interesting that Thanos is basically the main character, and everyone else is like a secondary character.
That's
it-
actually a very fair way to put it.
Which
he's
is
in every scene.
Yeah, which is fascinating, and it works somehow.
Right. Because Thanos is good in this movie.
Yeah, Josh Brolin.
Brolin.
I was pleasantly surprised.
I
was
too.
a little bit skeptical,
I was really skeptical.
going in
I was
about
kind of
Thanos
50-50.
because you see some like parody shit and you're like, is this just somebody being like a Photoshop expert
Yeah.
or like is this worthy of somebody's criticism?
I'll go on the record, and I do not like Ultron.
Yeah, I know
I
you
don't
were
like
saying.
how they portrayed Ultron. I don't like that he had a metal mouth that moved like a human mouth and created words. I don't like any of that. I thought they did it was a huge miss, and I think the Russos just. I don't think they just made Thanos great. They probably had a huge team.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That was incredible at motion capture. It's like the latest technology, and I thought it looks really good.
And Josh Brolin is
And then
amazing.
he's kind of a good
He's-
actor.
He's kind of like he's got some things under his belt.
And
Yeah.
it's getting to a point these days, and you said this about War for the Planet of the Apes.
Yeah.
With how people that are portraying something that's being CGI
Need
if
to
they're-
get Oscar nominations.
If they're giving a good performance,
Yep.
they're giving a good performance.
Yeah.
That's just that's it.
The way technology is now, you are giving that performance.
You're giving
It's
that
not
performance.
just some animator that's doing
Right.
that now.
Yeah.
Like Caesar, who's the guy? That's
Andy Serkis,
Andy
and it's a
Serkis,
fucking
yeah.
crime
Andy
he's not been
Serkis
on
is
there.
incredible.
Yeah.
I thought Josh Brolin
Gollum.
was incredible
Yes,
as
he was.
Thanos.
He was.
I really did. And I think if you can make, if we start just changing the way we think about what a good performance is, and you can acknowledge a good performance is covered up in a lot of CGI,
Yeah.
but it's still a good performance. I think that's something you got to give credit to.
Well
him for.
said, and I couldn't agree more. You put it perfectly. He's terrifying, this man. There were just
Yeah.
points where he was doing shit. I'm like, so we already said spoilers. So when he goes to get the Soul Stone, which kudos to Marvel too, because I heard people going maybe it's in Heimdall, maybe Cap has it. I heard every theory under the sun for where the fuck the Soul Stone was, and I think this is the one theory I didn't read as actually to where it was. It's oh, good job, you kept that under wraps. That's
Remind me what happens.
Yeah, there is so much that happens in this
No, I
movie.
know.
Like Colin was saying, I don't remember.
Hey.
There's a good part of it I don't remember.
No. So remember, Gamora takes him to that planet,
Right.
and where they find the Red Skull, which I was been telling people for years that he's alive.
They introduced him and then they never got back to him.
Yeah, I was kind of bummed about that.
I mean, he's clearly going to show up.
Was it actually Hugo Weaving?
I don't know.
I think that was Mr.
Because
Smith,
the voice
dude.
sounded a little off.
It did a little off, but
Do you think so?
It'll just maybe a tiny bit.
Interesting.
But-
okay.
But if they have to recast Red Skull, to
Check
bring him
back
back.
our review of the next movie to find out.
But yeah, if they have to sub in someone for Hugo Weaving to bring back Red Skull, I'm totally okay with that.
Yeah.
But
That was wild.
that was wild. That was like, oh shit, okay.
That was a big reveal.
And so they end up saying that you have to give a soul for his soul, and he looks at Gamora, and I'm sitting there, I'm like, don't do it. I'm like, you motherfucker.
For
don't
somebody
do it.
who you love.
Yeah.
And it's like, there's nobody else that this dude.
And that's when they established Thanos as being cold
As ice,
blooded.
And her reaction to him,
Yeah.
because she was so self-assuming that she was going to be safe.
Yeah.
Because that's what a daughter would think.
Yeah.
No matter what, a daughter would always be, well, you're not going to
Well,
throw
no,
me off
she
a
said
cliff.
that there wasn't anything that he loved.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and then it's like, oh no, I love you.
It's
well,
the confidence that comes from trust of a family member, and he'd like to betray that as Thanos. That's
Yeah.
the
There's no
ultimate
coming
evil.
back from
That's
that.
the ultimate evil.
There's no coming back from that. You set your place
Yeah.
as far as
You're officially you're
you're the bad guy.
You're the bad guy.
You cannot be the bad
cannot
guy
not-
after
yeah.
you murder your own
it took
daughter.
it took
You're the
everything
worst
in
guy.
me to not be sound super an emotional teenager and yell out, "You're a monster!"
Yeah. Right?
Because that's really
Fist
what
in the air. you
that's
son of
really
a
what I
bitch.
wanted to do.
I was waiting for the whole...
you asshole.
Oh man.
You're a dick.
hilarious.
but
That would have been very insensitive.
I was just surprised because Zoe Saldana's been so great in that role as Gamora, and I was
Yeah,
like, oh,
she has been.
and I was like, oh wow, cool. So she's gone. Fuck, that's a bummer.
Kudos to her.
But the
Very
movie, from there, establishes that hey, no one's really safe, and that's what kept me on the edge
Yeah.
of my seat.
I mean, if
the whole time.
Thanos is gonna kill his own daughter,
Yeah, he'll kill pretty much anyone. It doesn't really.
he'll pretty much do whatever.
Yeah, so I just kind of want to go down the cast list here, and I'm very curious about this point of debate. I think this is Robert Downey Jr.'s best performance as Iron Man for me. I thought he brought just enough, charm. That standard Stark wit. The get away from get out Squidward line or get lost Squidward to Ebony Maw. I was laughing so goddamn hard at that. That's one of the hardest laughs I got all movie. I was like, okay, that's just a great way to, and as a nerd, the bleeding edge armor on screen just looked fucking I know you're a comics guy, OJ. So did you mark out like I did when you? I was like, ah!
It was so nice to see, man.
Yeah,
You're finally getting certain payoffs that they've teased and teased
Yeah.
and teased, and that was definitely one of them.
Yeah.
You got others though.
yeah, the bleeding edge armor just as an Iron Man reader, I went the costume looks perfect on screen. Speaking of costumes, the Iron Spider
Yeah.
costume
Yeah.
looks so.
That
Scott,
was
you were
incredible.
freaking out.
I
on
was
that shit.
freaking out. Watching Tom Holland on
Who's the shit?
who did an
That guy.
incredible job,
Mhm.
made me and fucking Colin tear up at the end over here.
Dude.
Man, yeah.
the way he goes out
I think
is
he's a really good actor.
yeah,
He really
I
is.
agreed.
Yeah.
But that suit is fucking badass.
And he hides his accent really well.
Yeah, he's British.
Yeah. Whoa, Colin.
Whoa, where'd you go, Colin?
Oh,
Where'd you go?
Oh, did we mention we have the new Doctor Who here?
Yeah, Tom Holland's actually a really good actor, though, I think.
Yeah, so I mean,
That's what just adds to why Spider-Man's so good now.
so I will say the Iron Spider costume, I liked it at the end of Homecoming. I didn't love the way it looked, but it looks way better in
But it
motion.
was more of a teaser, I feel
Yeah,
like.
but it looks way better in motion in this movie. I went,
Yeah.
okay. I'm like, this looks... And I was sitting there, I'm like, all right, is he going to have the arms? Is he going to have the... Oh, he has the arms! Okay.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah.
That was super bad.
That
I was like,
sick.
comic book accurate,
Yeah.
yay! So, and the way it glows and everything, I was like, this is... I'm like, yeah. This looks...
How do we feel about the action? I feel like there was a lot of
I liked it.
large scale, which is sometimes hard to do. I feel like
Can I
detail
talk about one of
wise.
my favorite scenes?
Oh, please.
Do.
Okay.
Yeah.
One of my favorite scenes was when they're in Wakanda and all of a sudden these giant like
Ships.
ships crash into the ground and all these minions come out, like scary minions.
Yeah.
And like they're all rushing towards the force field, right? And they start hitting the force field, and they can kind of get through, but not really. And the whole like army of Wakanda is just waiting to battle, right? And who's with them? Like Falcon's with them,
War Machine,
with them.
Banner's in the Hulkbuster armor,
Olsen.
Bucky, White
Bucky,
Wolf,
White Wolf.
Yeah.
So they're all there waiting to fight this giant army, and they think we can just hold them off. And then I thought it was so cool that they had them start running around, and they're like, oh, they're going to hit a strategic spot.
Yeah.
You can't let them actually go around the force field. It's going to be worse than if we just let them in. And then, dude, T'Challa, man, he's just like, open up the force field, we're fighting. I thought that was so badass, and it was just like an epic war movie type of move by him. And I thought they really paid a lot of like respect to Black Panther by making like that sacrificial, like dope decision to just be like, bring in the minions, we're fighting them, we're not letting them around.
Captain was involved in that.
Cap was there.
Yeah,
Cap was there too,
like that was like, and they were all ready to go. Like once that transition was like, okay, we're gonna let him in. All right,
dude,
let's
tell you,
shit.
I'm in my seat. They start like charging for that force field when they open them up, and they're all coming in. They're charging for him.
Yeah.
I was just like,
Yeah,
let's go.
I was like, let's get it. Yeah,
I perked up and got on the edge of my seat, dude.
Oh no, I was just saying it was Cap and Black Panther leading the whole thing.
Dude, okay.
What did you think about that?
It was awesome. No, it was flat out awesome.
How cool was that?
Captain was, like Hunter was just about to say, Captain was great.
Yeah.
I mean, he had what a hunk.
So I've been saying,
Really
right?
I
mean,
mean,
you can't
really
long
nice.
hair, beard, like yes.
So I know everyone loves Iron Man. He's great. Blah blah blah.
You love Iron Man,
but I do. But I think Chris Evans has been the MVP of the MCU. He has Captain America is one of my favorite trilogies of all time. Yeah. The way they've just developed that character and just I don't know if Chris, this is gonna sound really mean, but I don't know if Chris Evans is a great actor. I go back and forth on it, but he's a great Captain America. If that makes sense.
It's his perfect role.
Yeah, it is his perfect role. So seeing him in Wakanda, and there's that scene in Wakanda where T'Challa starts chanting, which gave me goosebumps. And he's like, "Ibombe," and I was like, "Oh my god!" I was like, "Yes!" I was like, and then they all start charging, and everyone's charging, running pretty fast. But Black Panther and Cap are like, "Oh yeah, let's run 20 yards in front of everybody."
Because they can't.
Because they can't, exactly.
Because they just have super athletic power.
And then they start fucking shit up, and I went, "Yes, this is what I wanted."
Which is that's a beautiful thing about this movie is they allow the Avengers to fuck shit up. Yeah. You're like, there's certain, you could go away where it's like, oh, they're getting beat down over here. They're getting beat down over here. It's like, no, they know what to do. They know how to, wield their weapons.
Cap and, putting Cap and Black Panther together, that was a good move.
That was very good move.
That was so cool, man. That was badass. For sure.
That was a nerd moment for me. I just went, "Yep." I was like,
I couldn't agree more with you.
I was like,
running together is.
When he said, "Get this man's shield," I knew the line was coming, but I was like, "Yes!" I was like, "Fuck yeah, give him a shield!" I was like, "Yes," but
who's got the shield? You got the shield? Give him a shield.
I mean, I think if there is one complaint you can make, it's that depending on who you like most, you might be a little disappointed that they're not in the movie more. Mm-hmm. But to be totally honest with you, with as many characters are in this movie,
how many more?
Yeah, really? I think that's just a real nitpick. I got to see who I wanted the most of. I got to see Spider-Man. Mm-hmm. They take a good chunk of it takes place in Wakanda, which I went, oh, that's pleasant. That's a pleasant surprise.
There's a lot of Guardians of the Galaxy, which I really like. I know we were kind of excited about seeing them.
And
that's when so when I say there, I feel like I watched two movies. I felt like I watched a Guardians of the Galaxy movie.
Yes, absolutely.
And I watched an Avengers movie.
Yeah, definitely.
That's the A and B storylines I'm talking about specifically because the Guardians of the Galaxy, Chris Pratt had a very prominent starring role in this movie.
Yeah,
he did a good job. He had a lot of screen time.
Yeah,
and he commands the screen.
Yes, he does.
I mean, that's why he's in charge of the Jurassic Park films. Clearly Disney recognized that, and they're like, "Dude, Chris Pratt, you can have at it. You're a star. You're a star.
You're Star-Lord, right?
Yeah, Star-Lord. I think you did there. So I love Chris Pratt.
That's why you're a real pineapple right there.
I love Chris Pratt. but I hated Star-Lord for this dumbass decision he made. Why went you fucking goon? Like you could have stopped him there. Like, so there's this great scene with oh god, who's in that scene? The Guardians. Mantis. Mantis.
When she bites the dust.
Yeah.
Spoiler, obviously.
Yeah, we've already said
that. Was one of that. There's a few deaths that like really get to
every
you.
death hit me. In this
Mantis
movie.
and Gamora. Gamora
the
whole Gamora Thanos.
Yeah, you're
like
green.
Yeah, I feel like I'm like definitely attracted to the green characters.
So if you were
history alone.
Yeah, absolutely. History shows. You can go back and listen to our podcast.
You're a big green guy.
100%. I feel like I've been green all along. You know.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a talking point.
It's good for the environment.
I mean.
So if you were to
yes.
the
answer is yes.
That's why you go green.
If you're gonna fuck Zoe Saldana, you'd make her dress as Gamora, basically.
And then you get
she would be Gamora. I would go onto the set.
Perfect.
You're Gamora, aren't you? Yeah, okay. You are my fantasy.
I'll meet you in your trailer. You better have that makeup on. Oh, come on, OJ.
So, where were we in the plot?
Oh, sorry. Kind of just trailed off there.
Were we somewhere?
I mean, honestly, at this point...
Let's get into the third act. Like, when it really, everything starts coming together.
So, the third act... This is the thing. There's so much going on. So Thor is with Groot and Rocket, or what do you keep calling him? Rabbit. Which was just a great ongoing joke. I'm like, this makes me really happy. That pairing worked really well, actually. Like with the three of them, I went, wow. And so he goes off to this planet to get the I'm blank on Stormkeeper. Stormbreaker. Pardon me. Which again, another like straight out of the comic thing. I went when they said it, I was like, oh my god, they're putting that together. Hell yeah, because they didn't actually go back and say like, oh, he's got Mjolnir back because fuck you. That's why. Like I appreciate the fact he actually had to make a new weapon, and we get Peter Dinklage in that shit. So I don't watch Game of Thrones. I know I'm the worst, but before anyone yells at me, but I see Peter Dinklage in like 3 billboards outside of Edgewood, Missouri, and I just see him in like just random shit. He's such a good actor.
Okay, but you haven't said like what role he's playing. In
yeah,
the movie
I don't think they said the name of the dwarf.
They did not.
But he's playing a giant.
He's a giant.
Yeah,
he's playing a giant,
which was
also called a dwarf.
Giant dwarf.
Giant dwarf.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
because where he's from, he's also a dwarf.
Yeah,
but he's 15 feet tall.
But he's ginormous. Yeah. Way bigger than anybody else.
Ginormous.
Yeah.
I really appreciate the flip of like who he is it what's the character on Game of Thrones? I'm sorry.
Tyrion.
Tyrion on Game of Thrones.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and he's a he's a short guy, and then it's like, oh no, he's a giant, he's a giant dwarf in this shit. Like that made me really happy to see him in this. But Thor probably got the most screen time out of anyone who wasn't Thanos.
Of the core 4 Avengers,
he
probably had the most action in this
movie. And Chris Hemsworth,
he was like shooting lightning bolts.
He brought in this movie.
Yeah.
He did a great job.
He was pissed.
Yeah.
You know, like this.
His arc was my favorite.
Yeah, that's fair.
So talk about his arc a little bit, James.
Yeah.
Well, he's out for revenge. He just saw Loki get killed.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And, that's what he wants to go ahead and do is straight up go after him, and he recruits Rocket to go with him, and oh man, that's a fun one.
They're back and forth, man.
So, but that is a good running storyline from start to finish, is Thor's kind of like revenge.
Well, yeah, because
on Loki for Loki.
Yeah. What I've really liked
that.
about Thor in regards to how he's been in the MCU and how much he has always cared for Loki.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah.
Gives him a chance.
Even when it's one-sided, very one-sided
because
too.
That's just how a brother relationship is. It's like no matter like how many flaws or whatever, like it's a very real storyline that I think they do a good job with.
Yeah, and now to see Loki just get smoked like that's like when he literally can't do anything. He's
it doesn't matter what Loki did during his life.
So,
he was my brother. Like you're gonna pay.
The way that Loki dies is different than kind of what happens in the third act, where people you could say, I mean, we could argue that they died, right?
Just
so
like,
this is kind of an it kind of left up to discussion. Basically,
I think
they disintegrate.
Two people officially die.
Officially die.
Yeah,
Right.
Gamora
Right.
and Loki.
Gamora and Loki.
Yeah.
And the
That's
Loki,
like official death.
the Loki death it felt super like final. Like, and
Right.
like it's not one of those ones that I feel like happened in the third act where it's like, I don't really know what's going on
Yeah.
here. They're not here anymore, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that's the end of their character.
Yeah.
But
That's
Loki
fair.
was like hit to the gut.
Thanos even drops a line that I thought was a great callback to the end of Thor: The Dark World. He says, like, no disappearing act this time, or something to that effect. Like, just to hammer home the audience, like, yeah, he's gone, like, move on. I was like, oh, okay.
So I agree. I like that they kept bringing that back where that was really his motivation.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
And I will say, like, they really dropped the ball through the Dark World to a point where I was like, okay. And then they brought it back with Ragnarok. I was like, go. And they actually, like, they closed, well, somewhat have closed the loop with that Thor character, with him just loving, loving Loki.
I came out of this movie like wanting to watch Ragnarok again.
Right? Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah, I
Because
was
I
like,
didn't
oh.
get the whole.
And the whole that's something we can talk about too.
Okay, but if we want to actually talk about that,
Yeah.
I think my theory is that they purposely left out a lot of Iron Man, a lot of Hulk, and a lot of Cap. Like, Cap doesn't have his shield,
No.
right? We established that,
Yep,
right? His
correct.
official shield, he never has.
Nope.
So he's never really being Cap.
That's
Yeah.
true.
He's never throwing
Right.
his shield at 3 dudes in the face and then catches it and then does a roundhouse.
He's
Yeah.
being super brave.
He's just being so brave.
Yeah, he's being he's being like his character in the comics. He's being Nomad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Hulk is never Hulk.
Right.
At first part of the movie is.
No, never.
Very, like,
No,
very-
right.
At the end, he's just in the big armor.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I mean like at the very beginning when he fights Thanos.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But you
Like,
see,
he
there's a
gets-
quick
yeah.
change.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
he gets
Yeah.
dominated.
Yes.
I was
Yeah.
like, I want him to get his retribution.
Mhm.
I agree,
And I think that
next movie
we'll
you'll.
remember that for
Mhm.
next
Oh
movie.
yeah.
And I think that's my theory going forward is like they purposely like gave everybody else their spotlight, and then like the core. I mean, except for Thor, because
Right.
Thor really was shine. He
He went
had a
ham.
big part in this. But I think like Cap, Iron Man, and Hulk are gonna be like big time players. in the next
Absolutely.
I
movie.
agree.
Big time players.
Because they did mess with kind of big characters in this one,
Yeah.
but not to the extent where it's like Thanos versus Cap, or
Right.
like
Yeah.
Thanos versus like everyone together. I was kind of like waiting to see the main 4 get together and then battle Thanos. It's like, no, they're... You could see them kind of putting a few things off, but the way that they went about it, it felt so final. Like it
So-
was.
And
It was
Oh,
just,
no,
continue. Go
No,
ahead. Go ahead.
Paul. Go ahead.
I just wanted to get back to like I want to know how Thanos got the last 2 stones. I
So
forget the exact details.
so he gets the one out of remember. So Doctor Strange gives him the Time Stone.
That's the third.
Time Stone. I think that was what I was forgetting.
But doesn't he do that as like to save someone?
Yeah, he does it to save Stark because remember Stark is.
Right.
So that was a scene where I was losing my mind. So there's they're on this planet and
Titan.
Titan. Thank you. And you have Iron Man, Spider Man,
That was an intense scene.
Star Lord,
I like that scene
Star-Lord, Mantis, and then
Groot.
oh no, Groot's still helping Hulk. Drax.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. And they're all fighting Thanos, and so can I just say too, Spider-Man was going off on Thanos. He was getting his shots in. I was like, okay, like Spider-Man, like that's awesome.
That
But
was some incredible, just
oh my god, like,
Marvel porn.
yeah. Oh, that's exactly what it was. I was sitting
Yeah.
there. I was like, I'm at half shook right now. hell,
Just
hell yeah.
seeing
it's
all
like-
the pretty colors, just
yeah, it's like
on
yeah,
screen.
it's great.
But
But
trying
Yeah.
to take the gauntlet off. That just was.
and that's where
That's-
I was trying so hard not to be that black person, just yell at the screen, like because Star Lord confronts because Manta's like putting him to sleep, and goddamn Star Lord can't keep his cool and. Because he realizes Gamora. Oh, yeah, and Nebula's there. And he just starts hitting Thanos in the face with like one of his guns after realizing that he killed Gamora. I'm like, you almost have the gauntlet. I'll stop waking him up. And then of course Thanos fucks shit up.
And another character that was involved in that was Doctor Strange,
Who-
which they had
yeah.
a bit of a storyline for. Is like
He was very important in this movie.
He was really important,
Like-
which I'm glad that they recognized, because given his powers, he has to be, right? Like he has to be a part of that.
Like, by the way, they used his powers. Like, it was so awesome.
Dude, yeah.
Like, he was it was like that game Portal. Like,
That's
like
great call.
he was like throwing portals up for like Star-Lord jumping through, like flipping the bird. Like, it's so awesome. They used that in such cool ways. Some of the stunt choreography and like the way they did fight scenes was very cool.
So they had there was this point where Star-Lord like puts like an electric pack on Thanos and it shocks him, and he goes like boom and jumps backwards and flips him off and goes through a portal. That's Doctor Strange. So I died at that. I was like, oh, Star-Lord.
Which time and time again is what Marvel does best.
Yes.
Is like the choreography, it's the fight scenes, it's like it's the action that they can put together in these like massive fights, which is so hard to do. Like think about the like Attack of the Clones, like something like that, where it's like it's so hard to make something so massive, so important.
Yeah,
they nail it.
Well, the scene where Cap first shows up, or no, I still call him Cap. And I can't remember, one of the members of Black Order throws like the spear and he catches it and he emerges from the shadows. I was like, Chris Evans, oh my god, like and with a beard, like it's getting hot in here. But that fight scene was like mostly hand to hand, and I was like, wow, that was well shot. And then
that's what the Russos do best. Because they started out, their first one was Winter Soldier.
And they knocked that shit out of the park.
Winter Soldier.
Which is, I would say, one of my favorite action movies of all time.
I could not agree with you more.
My favorite thing about Winter Soldier is that it has so much hand-to-hand combat that's like intricately choreographed.
It's practical.
And executed brilliantly.
Yeah.
Like, it's just an awesome action movie. I love how they do that movie. But like I love that they take what they did there, and it's totally incorporated into this, where it's just this giant movie, but they're like, hey, we're gonna have some badass choreographed, like sweet fight scenes, like hand to hand combat wise. I love that.
The fight scene in Wakanda is just like it reminded me when I used to have like wrestling toys. I just have the figurines like hit each other in the ring. I'm like, oh, here comes Stone Cold, here comes Rock. like everything I wanted in that scene. I'm like, oh wow, Black Panther's kicking ass. Oh, that's like Black Widow's here. Oh shit, Fitch is still here. Oh my god!
Did we all feel that? Did we all feel like everyone was like, oh, I really want to see this person and this person kick some ass. Like,
so fun.
Everybody was fulfilled that way? I feel like because I did. I feel like they were able to contribute that like evenly.
Oh yeah, kind of your thoughts, man.
Pretty close.
Yeah.
Like I mean,
what did you want to see?
just some Hawkeye.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk.
So
that's contentious.
Part of my theory is that they were saving him for next week.
They
probably
totally
are.
are. They
And
totally
I
I think they were
probably
smart.
are.
Obviously, we also don't get Ant-Man.
Ant-Man, right?
So
Yep.
Ant-Man, I also think is going to be saved for the next one. You obviously have Ant-Man and Wasp coming out after this in a month.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No Valkyrie.
Yeah, no Valkyrie either, which is a bummer.
Kind of minimal Bucky.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Bucky was involved, but
Yeah.
minimally, I would say.
Yeah.
I like that Black Panther was like super chill with Bucky though. He's just like,
Yeah.
hey, let's get you an arm, bro.
Yeah.
Right.
That was vibranium arm, might I
Yeah,
add.
you know,
I was
it's
just like,
He's all, I'll hook it up, man.
I got the sweet
I got
arm
you.
for you. Want to check it out?
yeah, I just so at the end, basically what happens is people get raptured, I guess.
Everybody does.
So how does he get Vision's stone though?
So that was where I was sitting there. I was like, God damn, he's gonna use time. I even whispered over there, like, here's the time stone.
How does that all go
He
down
did,
though?
like,
Because it's
right
a
as
big,
it was happening.
it's a big finale, right?
Yeah, so at this point he has 5 of the 6 stones. The only
Right.
one he doesn't have is the very smooth Scott. The only one he doesn't have is the that's the Mind Stone. That's the,
Should be, yeah.
Yeah, Mind Stone.
Right.
And so Thor, was it Thor stabbed him in the chest? No. Someone stabbed him in the, I'm trying to why.
I know Loki was,
but
but that was a little bit.
Thanos
earlier
gets
on.
hurt, and he basically uses. Oh no! Scarlet Witch breaks the stone, but since he has a time stone, he rewinds it,
Yep.
Right.
and then punches her out, and then just takes the time stone just straight out of Vision's head, and that's why it Well, balls. That's not
That
good.
Vision is another one of those.
Dude, his
final
death was
deaths.
vicious.
That was not like a disappearing act. That was like, okay.
Like,
this
he's-
guy
like,
is-
Homeboy's done.
he's
Vision's
done.
1,000,000% dead.
Yeah.
Which is a bummer.
Yeah,
Because
like-
Vision is now in like Thanos' gauntlet.
Yeah, I really like
Like
Paul.
that.
It sucks. He's so
Oh,
powerful. He's like one of the more powerful.
Oh,
So
man,
that's something
so
that
powerful.
I think that's something the movie does a really good job of, is that they keep upping Thanos' power, and
Yeah.
you see him get more and more
Oh.
powerful. And by the end of the movie, you're just like, "Well, fuck! How the fuck are they gonna beat this dude?"
Man.
And so, the very end where he just starts fucking shit up. Cap. Okay, can I just say, so the last trailer that they showed, where Cap is like holding the gauntlet and Thanos is like bearing down, and Cap is like screaming, holding his hand up. That is like a nerd like money shot for me. I was like, that's Captain America. That is the definition of Captain America right there. And then Thanos, like an asshole, punches him. I was like, fuck. I'm like, this is hopeless. Why does this keep happening? And then he fucks up Falcon. He fucks up Black Widow. I'm just like, oh my god, no one's beating this dude.
Mm-hmm.
And then, and you want to talk about the ending, OJ? You want to talk about how this movie ends? Like how it takes your heart and stomps on it.
Since I love taking hearts out and stomping,
I know you do.
it's my favorite pastime.
Lead the way.
Right.
Bald asshole.
Thor comes in and like starts to lay the smack down, and even
Oh, so good.
oh man, like the Thor stuff is still my favorite. And
That's
even
fair.
when he comes back in with Stormbreaker, like that whole sequence is some of my favorite. Where he's just kicking ass and taking names. But he lands what would normally be considered a fatal blow onto Thanos, and Thanos shakes it off, basically, and says, "You should have hit me in the head."
Yeah.
And
Which he should have, by the way, and then snaps his fingers.
Plus all that leading up with like throwing some Groot in there, like to add to that,
And some
him
Rocket.
being. I just love Guardians of the Galaxy involved in this movie. Period. Like just seeing them in this made me so happy.
Yeah,
that's
those
fair.
those guys were a shit ton of fun. But yeah, he snapped his fingers and people melted away.
Yeah. So, and people literally
Burned
melt away.
Yeah.
So the thing is, obviously, all these deaths won't stick. Obviously, because they already announced Black Panther 2. There's a Homecoming 2. Like, duh. But I will say, just the concept that's how the movie leaves you genuinely hurt my heart. I'm like, I don't like this feeling at all. So who do we lose? We lose Spider-Man. So that was the one. That and Black Panther's when I just went, I'm about to leave. Like, I can't believe this shit's happening. So, and I looked over at Scott when Spider-Man was dying. Scott's eyes, he was like, what the... Like, Scott whispered with me, he's like, what the fuck are we watching?
Yeah,
Like, Scott,
I was like hitting your leg. I'm like, do you see what's going on right now?
Well, he dies in like Tony Stark's arms.
Yeah.
Like as a father figure.
Just-
Right?
oh.
Just like pure
father,
panic.
Like father losing his son
Yeah.
type of moment. It was intense.
Yeah.
like he...
I mean, it was very like I teared up.
When-
Yeah.
When,
Yeah.
when he goes, like, Mr. Stark, I don't feel so good. And he goes, like, I'm sorry. Like, I was like, don't apologize. Don't apologize. So, Black Panther broke me. I was sitting there, I'm like, Black Panther. And I just started tearing up. And then Spider-Man, I'm like, oh, cool. Like, thanks for taking my favorite superhero of all
And then
time.
from that moment on to the rest of the movie, you're like, okay, is this person gonna die? Like, who's gonna vanish next?
We lose Falcon.
Yep.
We lose
What
Scarlet
a
Witch.
Crazy ending.
We lose White Wolf, Winter Soldier. We lose...
Yeah, we do.
Doctor Strange, right?
Doctor
Okay,
Strange,
well, he was
yeah.
killed earlier.
Yeah, we lose Mantis. We
Yep.
lose Drax.
Ugh.
Star-Lord.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You're just sitting there like, what the fuck is that? Groot?
Rocket.
Yeah, Groot.
Rocket, I think.
No, Rocket was good. Groot did die, though, because he was in
Yeah.
Wakanda. And I remember I'm just like, oh my god.
Dude,
This is just...
They killed
did not
Groot
hold
twice.
anything back.
Yeah.
But they did keep the core four.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Like Thor, Hulk, Cap, and Iron Man are all ready to battle. next
Black
movie.
Widow, too.
And Black Widow's there.
Yeah, so...
And then we didn't even really see Hawkeye, right? We
No, we did not see Hawkeye.
We'll see him.
Yeah.
Yeah, so...
More than likely.
Okay.
So the interesting thing about the
He's gonna
movie
shoot Ant-Man.
is that... I do
it's gonna
love
be so
that.
great.
I do love that. So the thing about this movie, man, the way it ends... it's a downer of an ending. Like, it really is. I was telling Alea here, like, it's Deathly Hallows Part 1, but with Marvel, essentially. Like, you just watch the end of the first part, and you're like, oh, wow, I feel really depressed, and Dread is coming, and I don't like that. OJ.
See, you know what I likened it a bit more to was Empire Strikes Back.
That's fair.
Yeah, at least, I mean, that's the original. That's the OG cliffhanger.
Well said.
Like, we clearly have an ending for you guys. Like, you're just going to be upset for a year.
Yeah, basically.
It was almost less obvious, though, because it happened so quickly that I feel like at the end that, like, you're kind of just left, like, in shock.
Yeah, it was.
Like, it was more of, like, a shock and awe
like a
deal.
trauma just happened.
Yeah, and it was like, you wanted to stay for the end... the after credits ending because you're like, we wanted something else. You wanted a little bit of positivity after all that shit just happened. Yeah. You're like, this is gonna be a long year. We said like 5 times right after, like, this is gonna be a long year.
But I think what's cool. So by the way, we mentioned it earlier, but they killed Maria Hill and they killed Nick Fury. I was like, wow, what? Like in the end credits scene, they kill him. I was like, motherfucker. But the last thing Nick Fury does is send off a distress call to Brie Larson's Captain Marvel, which I'm pumped for that fucking movie. That's February next week?
February. Nice.
Yeah, so that's about 3 months before
the next Avengers, though.
Yeah, so
oh, Marvel, you just crafty dog.
Just a little something to string you along.
Yeah, exactly. But man, the ending of this movie is just a genuine gut punch. I went, cool. I feel really sad. I think we all had drinks like the first thing when we got back here, and we were like, yep, we all need a drink because we're all really sad. Mm-hmm. But I just, in closing here, kind of wrap up, I have to just give the Russos all the credit in the world for finding a way to juggle it seemed like 30 storylines. Like, I know I say this on the podcast a lot, but you know, you can hear the carnival music, like, how are you going to balance all this shit? And they found a way to, and any other director, again, Joss Whedon, did you read his Wonder Woman script? Ugh. But I don't know if there's another set of directors who could have handled this movie. I really don't. And the fact that they're doing the next one to wrap this all up and close the loop, that makes me really happy, and I feel like this next movie's in great hands. It's going to be a really long year, everybody. And I was telling Scott a couple months ago, I feel like they put Ant-Man and the Wasp out in July just because people are going to need something a little lighter because this movie just really brings you down. It'll be nice to see, you know. It'll be nice to see Paul Rudd and Evangeline Lilly. I love this movie. I think this is the best Avengers movie they made, to be totally honest. And I went back and watched Age of Ultron and the first one like earlier this week. I love this as much as Black Panther, a little as much as for the spectacle, you know, reasons of it. But I love this movie, man. I really do. This will be in my top 10. Don't know if I'll be above Black Panther, probably not. But I'll give this fantastic. I was sitting there. I'm like, yep, this is great.
Nice.
Let's kick it over to your special guest, OJ. Your final thoughts on your grade, sir.
What's your scale again?
So it's letter grades, basically. Yeah.
Letter grades.
Yeah, letter grades.
So, I enjoyed it. I was skeptical going in, very, very skeptical.
You were, yeah. I remember we were.
And they handled it well, so I have to tip my hat there. In terms of a setup and how they have it going forward, like, I'm gonna give it a higher grade than I would because I'm still holding out for one specific ending when it all wraps up. Okay. And this movie gave me a way to think about how that could wrap up for follow up. But I'm gonna give this a solid A. Solid A. Solid A.
Okay. Scott, my friend, what you got?
I was also skeptic. I feel like it's so hard to do this. Like,
it is.
This is a challenging task for anybody, any director, any producer, whatever. Like, being able to cram all these characters into one. And that was I feel like, criticism coming into it was like, how can you really build somebody's character? How can you really, like, establish somebody's storyline when there's, like, 15 main characters in one movie? And Colin and I were talking about this after the movie, is that they already have. You know, and they've already established these characters so that you can have this massive movie that's like you don't have to explain everybody's role. You can just jump into it and have this action-packed, awesome movie. And I think they were able to do that because, like we've talked about all along, Marvel is able to establish characters and set up these massive movies that continue to make billions of dollars. Yep. I mean, it can't not be a fan-fucking-tastic for me. Just because I was on the edge of my seat the entire time, and it was enthralling to see each storyline unfold, and I love Guardians of the Galaxy. It's really good. Chris Pratt really just gets me going. So
that's fair.
Just to see all them involved and see everybody kind of work together with it. Each storyline, as Colin also mentioned, is just the way they split up this movie to be able to shed light on each character it seemed thorough. It didn't. The time flew by.
I did not feel the length of this movie.
Not even a little bit. Even watching like Lord of the Rings, which I love, absolutely love. You can feel how long that movie is. But fantastic.
I felt way longer for me. I was like, wow, that was like a blink of an eye. This movie. Just real quick before I throw the call in, what melted my heart in Wakanda is when Groot goes, "I am Groot," and Cap is like, "I am Steve Rogers." I was like, that was a little levity out of all the darkness that's been around for the last 20 or so minutes. Yeah, Colin, go ahead, man.
I would say the things that really stand out about this movie, and we talked about it a lot over the course of this recording. And let me say, this was a fun recording.
Oh yeah, absolutely,
100%.
This was awesome. So I think that all adds into like my actual review of the movie is the experience of seeing the movie.
Oh
yeah.
Like just coming here to Reno, like being with my bros, like real pineapple representing. We got Alea cooking up mad breakfast.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
we got James, Roly McMaster Rolson.
Blunt Master
And
over here.
let me just say it's been an absolutely like just the most fun way to go see like a blockbuster movie.
Oh, absolutely.
That being said, I thought the real stars of this movie was Thanos. I thought we talked about that a little bit. I thought Thanos was really good. And I thought they gave like adequate time to like a lot of the players involved. And I think they were just holding back from the people that you may have been disappointed in because they're going to show up in the next movie.
I could not agree more.
So it ends on a downer, it ends on a big cliffhanger. But man, I had a lot of fun. I'm going to give it a fan-fucking-tastic.
Yeah,
There we go.
hooray! Dude, I can't even think of the last time we all gave a unanimous fan-fucking-tastic.
Dude, I had such a good time.
We had a genuinely great time.
I just enjoyed that movie so much.
Yeah.
I had a blast in that theater.
Did you see what they threw at the end? You know how like at the end of those movies they always say the Avengers will return?
Yeah.
They straight out said Thanos will return.
Really? I didn't
Yeah.
catch that.
Man,
Oh, that's horrifying.
Thanos
Your head was in your hands.
Thanos is like
I was definitely like an
You were
emotional.
avoiding any eye contact.
Yeah.
he's a great villain, man.
Yeah.
I can't wait for the next movie.
I was questioning for a second if they were laying that on a bit thick. Trying to make him...
Yeah,
You know,
I agree. No, I agree.
He showed vulnerability though.
Yeah,
I feel like he
yeah,
was really like, which is something you don't always see from like these massive
True.
Marvel
True.
like enemies.
But there is a line on laying it too thick.
Yeah.
And I thought they were going to cross that line.
Yeah.
But
They struck a good
pulled it back
balance.
some.
Okay. Last thing I just gotta say, they almost kill Iron Man in this movie, and I was losing my shit. I'm like, don't you fucking because I mean,
we need him in the next movie.
Yeah,
You need one more Robert Downey Jr. movie.
I think it's his last one. I think he has to go in the
that's
next
what
one.
we all understand.
But he,
although you did call that he would die in this movie,
And he didn't.
and he did not.
He did not. I know.
Maybe
Miles,
he
that's
will in the next movie.
I think him and Cap are gonna go.
Don't even.
I think they are. Man.
You spoke that into existence.
I'm sorry. I
now.
think it's gonna happen, man. They got to make way for these, for the Spider-Mans and
Can you imagine? Wow.
Yeah, well, they're gonna get X-Men
My
back.
heart
Like
would
it'll be
break
fine. It'll be fine.
If Cap ever dies.
But yeah, guys. So please don't spoil this for people. Let people see this, and form their opinions. But guys, let us know what you thought of Infinity War. There was literally nothing else that came out this weekend because I'm sure Movie Studio was like, oh, we'll put it out this. Oh fuck. Okay, no. Let's push it up to, June or whatever. What's Deadpool the next thing? like next
Deadpool's
good
in
thing.
a couple weeks, I think.
Yeah, the
May
May 18th.
24th, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Just
Yeah.
saw the Incredibles 2.
I think it's right before Solo comes out.
Yes,
Ooh.
which we will do a trailer review of
I'm
Solo.
so excited.
Solo trailer
It
review
was a-
blew my mind.
Yeah,
Yes.
we will talk about that next. But guys, thank you so much for listening. Follow us on SoundCloud, iTunes, and Podbean, and Google Music at The Real Pineapple. You can follow yours truly on Twitter at JHunterRealPineapple. Follow Scott on Twitter at.
Newman the First.
You can follow Colin on Twitter at.
The Real O'Neal.
And guys, like us on Facebook. Guys, thank you so much for listening. We'll talk to you soon.
Peace.